Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Moltrap here for Game 7 of STX versus Samsung. And again, this is the ace match. But I want to emphasize one more time that this is the ace match. However, it is not the end. They are totaling up the games from this best of 7 and the best of 7 played the following day. And so, and I don't know the results, but let's say STX Seoul wins 4-3. If Khan wins 4-2 the next day, then they actually win the whole series. So this is the ace match, but it's not actually the be-all, end-all. But it is going to determine who has the advantage going into the second set of games. And it should be very exciting, actually, because we've got basically the Zerg superstars of each team. Well, I guess Calm, yeah, I would consider Calm the superstar Zerg of STX just because they've been playing him more than Hero, even though I like Hero a little bit better. Anyway, Calm versus Great on Andromeda, and a little bit of an old map here being busted out. They're basically playing these playoffs on all the maps that were used for the entirety of the Pro League, and the Pro League season actually goes back almost a year. So there's a lot of maps that are going on here, and Calm looks like he's going to be the orange Zerg in the bottom left corner, and Great is going to be the purple Zerg in the top right corner.
And this is going to be on Andromeda, which is a very non-standard Zerg versus Zerg map, so you can't really expect standard Zerg versus Zerg. You can pull a 12 hatchery on this map, which is unprecedented on other maps. You've got big distances between your spawns, especially at cross-map positions like this, so there's a lot of room. It feels like there's more space for error as a result here and there. So we'll see what these guys decide to open up with. I expect at the very least 12 pools, just because going for a 9 pool, you're not going to be able to spot necessarily with your Overlord Scout right off the bat, unless you send out a Drone Scout, and then you're investing a lot to basically try to do some early economic damage. And I would not be completely shocked to see one or even both of these players go for a 12 hatch, because with the invisibility, with the huge space, and the fact that there's that darkness and it's a 4-player map, you might be able to pull it. And just as I say that, it looks like we're going to see a 9 pool from Great, so ignore me altogether. So there's the 9 pool from Great. Let's see if he's going to send that first Overlord out to the left, so he's going to have trouble spotting, and it looks like we're seeing an overpool on the opposite side from Calm.
Yeah, and that you would argue that should give a build order advantage, although not as huge as if you'd say gone for 12 pool to Calm. Looks like the structure went down for Great as well. I've got to say, I'm not a huge fan of people calling themselves Great. It's just not, I mean, apart from not being the most imaginative nickname in StarCraft history, it just sounds a little bit pretentious to me, although I'm sure he had very modest intentions when he actually picked it, but it just doesn't seem like that. But yeah, I mean, Zerg versus Zerg typically can degenerate into a little bit of boredom, but as Diggity said, on this map you can see something unusual, but you've got to feel that Great is going to be in a lot of trouble to start out with, because he's going to have those lings out, but he's going to have a long distance to cover after he finds his opponent's base, which I guess once the Overlords cross paths, that should give him a bit of a hint, but even then, he's, Great's, meanwhile Calm has got his spawning pool up as well, now technical lair, so he's going to be in a comfortable position to really be able to defend this, and you feel that that's going to give him the advantage, and even with these huge distances, that kind of advantage usually, provided both players have kind of equal-ish micro, it should translate into a win for a player like Calm.
And something else to keep in mind is that Great was actually practicing his ZVZ already for his matchup, the first match of the game, and he's had a little bit more time to calm down, as it were, to relax and spend some time recovering after his game earlier as well. But anyway, he does have his Zerglings out a little bit earlier, and he's trying to venture out with them. He's gone for early gas to try to, he's venturing his Zerglings out while Calm's Zerglings going in, and he's going to have to, I don't think Calm knows that these 8 Zerglings are coming towards his base. He's deduced where Calm's base is, and he's heading there right now with speed upgrading Zerglings. He has some Zerglings back at his own base to try and deflect these ones from Calm, but Calm doesn't really have a lot here. He's having to plant down frantic sunken colonies and trying to pump out as many Zerglings as possible, get him inside of his drone line. Actually, a single Sun Colony. The other one is his Spire. And here comes Great coming in with a bunch of Zerglings. I don't know if he has enough to hold this off. It looks like he doesn't even have the minerals to make that into a Sunken yet. And finally he does, but he's already lost a couple Zerglings and some drones here. But I think finally it looks like Calm might be building up enough forces to combat this. Is he going to take down that Sun Colony? He takes down a drone. No, the Sun Colony comes in. More coming in from Great. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think Great was just too occupied making more Zerglings to defend against those counter Zerglings from Calm, so he didn't have reinforcements, and Calm just had to hold off long enough, and it looked a little bit precarious there for a minute, but he did in fact hold off long enough to get enough Zerglings to counteract that. He lost the Sunken Colony, but he kept his Spire, he kept most of his drones. I think he only lost a single drone there. So Calm now actually in good shape.
Yeah, it looks like some more Zerglings able to squirt through. Let's see if they're going to be able to get another drone kill, specifically Gas. That's what I think he needs to focus on here, because he is going to be behind on that Spire, and he's still able to run and able to get a couple hits, but not able to get much else. That is going to put Great up two drones, but he's going to be so far behind on the Spire. I still think Calm's going to be able to wander up and equalize that fairly quickly. That was a little bit of greed there on Calm's part, and also another factor you have to take into consideration is Andromeda has particularly wide ramps, which make them very difficult to seal off. So Calm I feel like he was just, a little bit too greedy there, running the Zerglings out in the field, not knowing what was out there, and just a little bit of luck on Great's part to sneak those Zerglings in. But the question will come down to Mutalisk time, is how many Mutalisks can push forward and how many kills can they get here for Calm. Calm will definitely have his Spire up a lot sooner than Great's, and I think he will be able to push them up a lot sooner, but we'll see what goes from there. And again, Great able to breach with the Zerglings, pushing up, and there's no Sunken Colony, but there are Mutalisks here. But this could be the difference here. These Mutalisks forced to stay at home base. Looks like Calm did manage to sneak in a couple Zerglings into Great space. He's able to get one drone kill at the very. I'm sorry, he got two drone kills, it looks like. So that definitely helps equalize things. But that gives some delay there for the Mutalisks to pop for Great. So very nice maneuver, I have to say, on both players' part. First of all, on Calm to sneak through to get a couple drone kills, but also on Great to throw those Zerglings in to make sure that Calm had to stay at home base, even though he had those Mutalisks much sooner.
Yeah, I think Calm actually did a brilliant job of defending that, because I really felt it was almost going to be over for him when Great managed to run almost 8 links past him, and Great had his link speed upgraded, and Calm quickly putting that Sunken down just managed to buy himself time somehow and hold that attack off quite brilliantly without losing too much in the process against Great, and you really felt that at that point he could have gone down. Just almost, I guess perhaps he was being a little bit cavalier sending those lings out, especially when he went for that overpull build and didn't know what his opponent do. I guess he just did not expect a 9 pull from his opponent at all, kind of the way Diggity, you reasoned at the beginning of the game when we were discussing the map. I guess Calm just didn't expect that at all, and that's why he was so surprised, and yet he reacted quite brilliantly to it and defended, and now I think it's pretty much even Stevens between these two players. It looks like Great is putting a little bit more pressure with the Zerglings, but both players seem to have the same number of Mutalisks out, both players with the one hatchery, both players with similar drone counts, and I don't think there's a lot to tell these two players apart, and it's just going to come down to the Mutalisk micro between them.
At this point, Calm did get in those couple Zerglings. He picked off a drone or two, and Great was already a little bit behind in drones due to his build. So at this point, they both have 3 on gas, and I actually counted Great has 5 drones on minerals, and Calm has an entire 8 drones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 drones on minerals. So he's got a 3 drone difference there, and that's going to give him either extra Zerglings, or that also means that he's going to have Mutalisks, whereas Great is going to have to resort to building Scourge to try and make the most of his minerals, and so it might come down to micro as far as if Great can land the Scourge or not, if he does in fact make them, although it looks like he may have just enough minerals coming in to consistently make Mutalisks only, but again, in which case Calm's either going to have a few extra Zerglings on the ground, or maybe go for an extra hatchery or something like that eventually. But yeah, we saw in game 1 that one player had a production advantage and the other player just had a little bit of a tech advantage, went for the +1. So if Great gets +1 again and goes in at the right time with a timing attack with +1 weapons, he can still defeat Calm.
Looks like that single Zergling going to be able to slip by those 5 Zerglings and run up and do a scout. Let's see if those Mutalisks follow. He wants to get a good look at the Mutalisk count. Fortunately for Great, he saw it coming, so he's going to pull 3 of his Mutalisks back to his main just to try to give a false count. He's like, okay, hey, check it out, I got 5. I don't actually have 8 with more spawning. Well, actually, that was an Overlord there. Let's see if Calm decides to trigger on that. It looks like he's actually going to hold back. He's actually showing all of his Mutalisks right there with his cloud. Right now, they have about even Mutalisk counts. The trigger here will be for Calm is when he decides to take the hatchery, or if he decides to take that hatchery, and how Great will be able to respond in that time period. If he's able to run up, do some damage, if he's able to, because it takes a while to build up that 300 minerals, and you can end up not building Mutalisks to get that 300 minerals. It can actually put you in a bad situation. But yeah, the longer this goes on, the more minerals ultimately Calm will have, and that'll put him in an advantage if Great can't micro his way out of it. But keep in mind, that first game, some beautiful micro. We saw that Weapons 1 really paying off as well. Might come into a factor here. That's another option that Calm might be able to do. He might be able to wait for that Weapons 1 to press out. Gathering a lot of Overlords actually over the secondary. It looks like he's waiting to get a full Mutalisk complement before he decides to push in. Before he decides to take the hatchery of his own. So now going for that hatchery. Now this is kind of that moment where Great can go, and Great able to sneak in that circling, see that drone in position, so he knows it's coming. He knows if he's going to act, he needs to act soon. He needs to act now, and let's see what he decides to do.
Yeah, Calm looks like he's still not put that hatchery down. He's finally putting that hatchery down. Great is aware of it. He saw that drone with the Zergling, and yeah, good call by Moltrap on the drone count. I didn't realize, although it did look at first glance that Calm perhaps, and now +1 attack upgrade as well. Yeah, +1 weapons for Calm as well, and I'm not sure if Great has that, and that's perhaps where those extra minerals are going to tell, which is why perhaps it took so long for him to accumulate the minerals he needed for that hatchery, because but Great is going to be able to see that. It looks like Great has +1 weapons as well. I mean, my screen is a little bit fuzzy, but I think Great has +1 weapons on his Mutalisk as well. Oh, he doesn't. Okay, my bad. I thought he had +1 weapons on his Mutalisk as well, but I actually couldn't make it out properly because my screen's a little bit fuzzy. But looks like it looks like things look really bad for Great right now. He's got a couple of Scourges alongside with those Mutalisks, but Calm, I think, is in a very strong position, and he's got a lot of Mutalisks there, and Great is going to be forced to attack here, and he's not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, Calm looks to be posturing to attack, although he's not in a position to. I don't know if he knows that Calm has the +1 weapons. He may be waiting for +1 armor or +1 weapons of his own to finish upgrading, and then he'll dive in and try and polish off that new expansion. But I think he even has a couple less Mutalisks from the look of things. And if he engages with Calm having +1, he's just going to get slaughtered. And here he is moving in. He's going to try and depend on his Scourge to do enough damage to make up for the +1. He moves in, the Scourge diving in, he gets several hits off, a huge swarm of Mutalisks on both sides. Only Calm with the +1 weapons. I don't think, no, he does not have +1 weapons. Great does not have the +1 this time. He does have more Scourge coming in this time though. I think the Scourge have managed to give him a Mutalisk advantage. He's above his own base. It looks as if Great may have extra Mutalisks coming out, and Calm, the look of despair as his last Mutalisks slowly die down in his Spire, now getting attacked, his drones getting slaughtered. GG coming from Calm. Great pulling out his second Zerg versus Zerg victory in this matchup to win the first set for Samsung Khan. Absolutely brilliant. Even lacking the +1 weapons, he just came in and was able to split his Scourge perfectly and get enough of a Mutalisk number advantage to take the game. Brilliantly done by Great.
Oh, you can see the frustration on Calm's face. I have to say that was brilliant. First of all, those Scourge landings on Calm, he really spreaded them out well to make sure that they weren't hitting. I think, yeah, it worked out better for him to have them hit the individual Mutalisks at that stage rather than just taking a single Mutalisk down, because he just seemed to have more Mutalisks out in the field, and the +1 weapons not paying out for Calm. You can see the frustration on Calm's face. He knew he had that game locked. He knew he was in a great position, but Great, just with a beautiful dive-in, able to take it out.
Yeah, I just did not expect that at all, but it was almost a mid-as touch for Calm to have those extra minerals, because it actually kind of worked against him in the end, because he felt he was safe, and Great knew that he was going to have one chance to win, and he put everything into that, whereas Calm was trying to play a little bit safer and just try and absorb that attack, and in the end that ended up being his undoing. So fantastic last-second turnaround victory for Samsung Khan, and they're absolutely delighted.
And I gotta say, I have a lot of respect for Great because of that. I mean, in both situations, he was sort of technically behind. He had a production disadvantage of some kind or other, and in both situations, both of his games, he was able to use tactics of one kind or another to come out with the win after all. And so much respect to him for taking half of Khan's wins for today just on his own, and yeah, carrying the team basically. So GG. And probably not going to go on and finish the second day of the second best of 7. We're going to save that for another day. But I hope you guys enjoyed this set, and look out for more in the future. Take care. Thanks for watching.